Many moons ago, a nameless evil was imprisoned in a place far beyond reach.
Hurry up!
If he were ever to be released, it would spell certain doom for all existence.
Is that fear I smell? Your planet will be torn to pieces, and I will
Mimi,
treat your angry screams as I rip.
Is this yours? Speak?
Oh my god.
The gem of Paraxidike. Whoever wields it is able to command me.
Go over there and wait for us to come back in the morning.
You will suffer an eternity for this.
Bye! Mom, Dad, I want you to meet Psycho Goreman, or PG for short.
I will bathe in your blood.
Don't worry.
Be worried. Slow down!
He's gonna kill everybody.
Not unless I tell him to.
What did you three maniacs get up to?
This is getting a little weird.
This sick game must come to an end. She will enslave the galaxy into endless servitude. Kill him!
Cool.
The ultimate evil has awoken.
There's a new god in town, and his name? Psycho Goreman. It was nice meeting you.
It would be nicer if you were dead.
Alright, bye.
Followers, welcome to the new cult, where we review newer movies that are within the realm of genre or might be considered future cult classics. I'm your host, Josh Fiser, and with me on this inaugural episode is Tanner Randall. Tanner, how you doing?
I'm good. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
I'm excited to talk about this movie.
Yeah, it definitely has been getting a lot of buzz, especially in the genre realm, because it is it's pretty much a mashup of like people our age there is so much in this that is just like yeah, that looks like that, yeah.
Even the sound that sounds like this sounds like that.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, anyway, the movie we're talking about is Psycho Goreman.
PG,
or as I've been saying, Psycho Goreman. Qu'est-ce que c'est? Fa, 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 fa.
I had that same joke locked away, ready to go.
Got there before you, motherfucker. But yeah, it's movie that came out, was released back in January, I believe the 21st, like late January. That has definitely gotten a lot of buzz. I first learned about it through the podcast, The Flophouse. One of the hosts of that show has a like, it's more or less a cameo. He has like one line as a voice actor, but it's but you know, it's a thing like that. That's how I was first aware of the movie. I don't and what how'd you learn about it?
A couple of the nerd news sites I followed had just like posted about it. A couple film review like IndieWire and stuff had just posted like hey, this is an amazing B movie. Kind of like a lot of people were like saying, hey, this is kind of like the first kind of good movie of the year of 2021. And a lot of them were like, hey, this is a good sign. If this is a January release in 2021, we got a good year of movies ahead of us.
Well, a lot of the movies that were supposed to be released last year are going to be released this year. So, you know, it was going to happen, you know. Also, I'm kind of wondering if I should cover the Oscars this year, because it's just going to be like it's going to be the most unique Oscars.
And isn't that reason enough to cover it?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. But we're talking about a movie that definitely won't be considered for Oscar.
Nope, nor should it.
Yeah, nor should it. Yeah. But it's still really cool. It's directed by Steven Kostanski, who before this, probably best known for The Void, had done a
Or
movie,
Leprechaun Returns.
or Leprechaun Returns, which I heard and that's the sequel to the first one, right? They did a Halloween.
It's kind of like it's like a reboot.
Yeah.
It's a sequel to the reboot. Yeah.
And I heard that's really good. I think this year, because I don't think I've watched. I think I've seen the first one. I haven't seen any others. So I think I'm going to for like St. Patty's Day go through all the Leprechaun movies.
There's some gems in there.
What?
There's some gems in there.
Yeah. See, rapping. See, one of the most offensive ways to do a horror movie. Hey, we'll put it in the hood. And anyway, but yeah, Psycho Goreman, Steve Kostanski, directed, Leprechaun Returns, directed The Void, directed a movie called Father's Day, which was picked up and distributed by Troma, which is apt because it seems like all of his movies are kind of Troma-ish. His first movie was called Manborg, which I haven't seen. I haven't seen his other movies. I just haven't.
The Void's pretty high on my to watch list, but yes, this is the first of his movies I have watched.
And I actually hear The Void is really good. I think my thing is, and my thing about movies that try too hard to be culty, which is kind of going to be a weird thing to say for this kind of show.
Sure.
But I mean,
this is a movie that definitely wears its influences on his sleeve and is trying to be what it is succeeding at being.
Yeah. But I like there's as much as it is a comedy. Yeah, it's definitely a comedy. It's definitely not taking itself too seriously, but it takes itself a bit seriously. And even that is just like the thing you watch this movie for isn't so much plot, or story, or even characters. Because I gotta admit, a lot of the characters just annoyed the fuck out of me to a point where I like. I'm going to say now my not my rating, but my general takeaway from this. I like it, but I didn't love it.
I love it and will work on convincing you otherwise.
Okay. But on the second viewing, the thing about the characters was that I kind of had to realize, all the characters are assholes in some way or another. The only character that's genuinely likable is the young boy Luke. Other than that, is just like,
and Luke's friend who gets sexualized by an 8-year-old girl.
Okay, but we'll get into the plot. A quick summary. These two children, brother and sister, Luke and Mimi, accidentally dig up the imprisoned overlord of space, who was sent there by these I guess, what are they called? The Lightbringers or something like that?
They're like, they're a stand-in for angels. They remind me of the Paladin in every video game ever made.
It looks a little anime inspired a bit. So, and but they are able to unlock it by taking a gem, some kind of gem out, and they learn that they can control what they call what is the Dark Overlord, but they rename him Psycho Goreman, PG for short. And basically from there, they do everything that asshole kids do when they have a super powerful being at their disposal. And it's, God, it's just, the violence in this is never really that, it's really fucked up, but it's never really that disturbing. It's fun.
Yeah, I mean,
it's fun.
I think the biggest two influences I felt watching this movie are Power Rangers and the Toxic Avenger. Like,
yes,
that is like going into this. That is what I felt like this movie gave me those vibes of.
Well, and a lot of like space fantasy stuff. I mean, like the obvious reference at the very beginning is that he comes from the planet Gygax, which I'm not even a D&D guy, but like I got that. Like that's an obvious one. And it's very much heavy metal, both the genre of music and the movie and the magazine that that movie is based on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically one of the things I'm very impressed with this movie is that they seem to cram all these different influences all together, and it doesn't feel bloated. It feels like it goes together well, and it's paced really good. I just have to say, like, the last act I was kind of iffy on, but overall they do everything they wanted to do, and it doesn't seem nothing seems out of place.
Yeah, the final act definitely gets to a conclusion where if you're going in with this as like an 80s type movie where kids find an alien and befriend it ends logically in the way that movie has to end within the universe of this movie.
Yes.
But because it's playing into tropes, there's nothing like mind-blowing that happens at the end of the movie. Because it is all based off of all the tropes we like from movies. Yeah, I mean, you can see everything that's about to happen from a mile away, except for the costuming in the end, which is one of my favorite jokes in the movie.
Yeah, it's a really it's definitely a fun ride, and I got, even though I said, like, there's most of the characters I fucking hate. At points I fucking hate.
Yeah.
A lot of them are just annoyed. The character of Mimi, who I think the actress did a really good job.
Oh, she's
the
so
child
good.
actress. Yeah, she's good, and I feel like it's one of those things where usually she'd be in like be cast in like a Disney or Nickelodeon thing, especially with that energy. But like to be cast in a rated R horror fantasy movie is she definitely was having fun, and that's infectious. But she is a fucking psychopath.
She's truly the villain of the movie,
Yes.
which is like the funnest thing about the movie to me.
Yeah. Excuse me. And PG is does a great job. I'm gonna look it up because there's a different actor for the voice, and there's an actor for the.
And it's worth mentioning that PG and all the aliens, because there's lots of them in this movie, they're practical, which is a thing I loved. Their suits, they are like Power Rangers, I mentioned earlier, but like the guy looks like Zed, Lord Zed from the Power Rangers, like.
Well, a buff version of that.
Oh yeah, and like an R-rated demon version of, like, not for kids version of it. But all the aliens are practical, cheesy costumes. Some of them are better than others, but they are practical, and I love that.
Yes. No, and I think part of the fun of it is that they're not all like, really like great effects. Like they're kind of I mean they're obvious costumes too, but like that's what they're going for. That's the fun of this kind of movie, is that you get to see these cool practical effects. The time they use digital effects often feel like B movie stuff, that you got some green screen, blue screen in the background and whatever, but it doesn't look like glossy. It's a movie that I feel like in that way with the special effects, it stays in its lane. It doesn't try to, like, one of the things I think is kind of a lot of independent filmmakers kind of need to realize that if you can't do it well, then you should find another way to do it. And this was kind of evident in like the early 2010s when even major mainstream movies like the fucking Expendables, which I expected it to be like a more traditional action movie with traditional effects, using CG blood, which always looks fucking terrible.
Yep.
I mean, if you do it on a big scale, it looks terrible. You can do it like smaller scale. And this one is just like, okay, we don't have the budget. We kind of used all the budget on the monster effects. So
Well, and it stylizes when it goes heavy on CG. Like a lot of the CG stuff is in space, so it's not trying to look real. It's trying to honestly look like an anime. So it's trying to be cartoonish.
Yeah.
So like when it doesn't look good, you're like, yeah, it's fine. This is just being dumb. So it's all good.
Yeah, a lot of the space stuff looks like a heavy metal album cover. Like,
Yes.
honestly, it looks like, something somebody would have painted on the side of their van. Like,
Somebody you can't trust would have it painted on the side of a van.
Somebody who's like some 28-year-old who invites high school girls into his van to smoke pot.
Yeah, who definitely has like Mike's Hard Lemonade on tap back there.
God. But yeah, it's but also when I say the effects they do, I think that's also on purpose, the kind of effects they're doing. There's one point where the little girl does a spin and it looks like a Sailor Moon kind of thing.
Yep.
It's all really cool. What about what other thoughts you got? Because I know you are gushing about this movie.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, the second I watched it, like, messaged you like, "Hey, watch this movie," and I've been screaming about it since I saw it. I have just so many friends who, most of my friends are older than me, so they grew up on Troma, which is not like my dad grew up on Troma, so that means I got it by proxy. But I'm a little young, so Troma wasn't a thing when I was a kid. Other than my dad owned all the movies, I grew up watching that. But the second the movie starts with this weird made up game that the little girl made up, which is essentially an excuse for her to beat up her brother. Yeah. And they're playing this game.
That game is very important to the plot of the movie.
Yes. And it's essentially dodgeball, but where the rules are dumb. Like if an 8-year-old were like, it's dodgeball, but I made up all the rules.
Yeah. It's like, if anybody watches New Girl, it's that president's, it's as chaotic as that president's game that they do.
Yep. And the second they start playing that game, the score picks up, and the score is almost straight from like a Power Rangers fight scene. It is just power metal guitar riffs.
Yeah.
It is driving, and I got on the edge of my seat of just like, ooh, I know this music. This is Power Rangers music. And I am of the Power Rangers era. Yeah. Like I remember when that debuted, I got up early to watch it. I was bought in on the hype, had all the toys except for the Megazord, which I am still spiteful about my parents about.
Yeah. It sucks if somebody gives you, when you're a kid, like for your birthday, like one of the Megazords, just like, that's great, but I need like all, what is it, 6, 5?
Oh yeah, yep. And I had all the Rangers where you hit their belt and their heads flip from their real ones to the mat. Awesome. Like I had all those. Like I was into them, but we never got the Zords because they knew once we got one, it was going to be a problem if I didn't have all of them. So like when the musical cue kicks in, and then it's that, and then you eventually see like this council of aliens that are all practical effects, and they're not great. Their mouths don't really sync up to the dialogue all that well, but it reminded me of the bad dubbing that happened in the Power Rangers, because so much of that footage in season 1 was Japanese stuff redubbed into English. So it hit all those nostalgia buttons, and I'm such an anti-nostalgia person of just like, I try not to get sucked into that. Right. But this hit me in the right spots of it where I was like, ooh, this is fun. Like, and I'm not thinking about, look, this isn't a masterpiece of a movie, but it's been a while since I watched a movie where I was smiling like ear to ear, just having a blast from beginning to end. And there's like jokes where at one point Psycho Goreman is dressed up like Dr. Grant from Jurassic Park.
Okay, all right, that because I was like, oh, that's a weird.
It's not talked about. It's not addressed. He just spends almost a third of the movie dressed up like Dr. Grant, and it's very funny to me.
Yes, and I feel like that's only for the reference, because there are times when he's out in public just as himself, no costume, no nothing. It's not a thing of like, we gotta disguise him. It's just like, nope, he's just.
But there is a fashion montage where they do try on multiple costumes, which I love, and I love that original song they wrote for that. You're the friggin' best.
Yeah, which is basically pretty much their it's just a parody of that Billy Idol song, more.
And yeah, it sounds just like that. It's very similar to "You're the Best Around."
They say I don't think they actually curse in this movie.
Nope.
Yeah, it's like they either say heckin' or friggin'.
Yep.
Yeah,
and they're even explaining what friggin' means
Yeah.
to Psycho, and they're clearly saying the F word, but they are saying friggin', but they're defining what we all know the F word to mean.
Yeah. It doesn't get its R rating through, cursing or nudity. It
No,
does
just
get
gore.
it through excessive violence.
I actually really like the parents of the kids in this movie.
I do too.
I mean, they're both terrible.
Yes,
but
they're
like
both terrible. But
the joke of them being both very bad parents, mostly to each other. They're not bad parents. They're good with the kids. They just clearly don't love each other.
Yeah,
and it's such a funny joke in the movie of like, hey, most people end in divorce, and this is clearly a couple that should get a divorce.
I think the thing that really bothered me was because I actually had sympathy for the mom, because it's just dealing with the husband is kind of just a dick.
He's unemployed at the moment. He's
not even unemployed. He takes time off.
He sprained his wrist shoveling.
Yes. He takes time off from work, which I guess they don't have like, a disability plan for them. So like that's anyway. Yeah, it's
I love the dad because
and again, I want to say the actor does a great job. I actually think
the
he's
guy
really
who's
funny
definitely not Brian Husky. That's all I could think about the entire movie is like he wishes he was Brian Husky, but he is not.
Who okay.
Brian Husky, Mr. Neighbor's House, if I can go with a deep cut. He's also the voice of regular size Rudy on Bob's Burgers. Well, what you need to know is he looks just like the actor who plays the dad, but he's definitely not the actor who plays the dad.
Right. And this guy has been in quite a bit of the director's movies.
Yeah, he's clearly a friend, I really found him funny. I like that he's kind of the good guy at the end, especially because through the whole movie, he's very unlikable.
Well, yeah, and there is no real good guy, too. Like, the thing about
Psycho Goreman.
Psycho Goreman is a genocidal maniac. He has sympathetic origins, but also
you're rooting for him for the last half of the movie, but you are rooting for him to destroy all of the planet.
Yes. And the other side, the angel side is kind of more of a authoritarian, I think the imagery of an angel definitely gets into like the more Christian, gotta be nice, gotta be good.
Especially with Psycho Goreman looking so demonic. It's just it's a very easy line of like, well, this is what the other side is. But it's fun. It's simple and it doesn't need to be complicated.
Yeah, and oh god, one of my favorite things is like Psycho Goreman hardly ever like breaks character.
Yes,
like he's very he like even when he's with the kids, like he's still like the guy. Like there's some like funny jokes where there's ones that's like he like she summons him and he like tells her basically kind of tells her off, and then it's like she's asking why he was so late, and he tells her off, and then it's just like, oh, so I got lost.
The scene where he gets wounded and has to give directions telepathically to the dad and like doesn't break character, or even like during the montage when a kid's like, that's a dumb Halloween costume, and he explodes the kid.
Yes. That's the level of, that's the thing, is just like, it's the level of casual violence in this that is still keeps it fun, but it doesn't I enjoy that it doesn't feel too much like those kinds of movies that and I've discussed with you. I dislike it tries too much to be a B movie, and this is definitely trying to be a B movie, but it also has its own thing going on. It doesn't
very much. What I think it holds up well is there's rules, right? I like movies that like have clearly defined rules and follows them, and doesn't break those rules out of courtesy of like, this is what the genre is.
Yes.
So we've established this is a demon from outer space here to kill all of humanity. So he will destroy everything if given the opportunity. The only thing that's preventing him some of the time is a little girl, but like also the little girl's a psycho. So like, people die in this. A lot of people die in this, and people they all die
mutilated,
very graphically.
Transform, yeah.
And I love Alistair. I love Alistair so much. The little blonde boy who's friends with Luke. And I love
let's not spoil what happens.
I'm just saying I love that. I love the way that plot resolves. I love everything about it, even from the beginning when the girl like asks him to do a little turn and is like biting her lip at him and like sexualizing this kid.
Yeah, and it's just
so
like,
funny.
she definitely learned how to sexually harass people from her grandpa or something.
Yep. It's very old. That little girl is so good, and she's got so much charisma in this movie.
Yeah, and I hope
she's terrifying.
Yeah, and I hope she goes on to other things. Like I looked at her IMDb. She's apparently going to be in this movie that's going to be released called 14, which is, it sounds basically like 8th grade but Canadian. So
sure.
Yep, sure.
I would have thought 8th grade was Canadian.
But like I was saying, they don't sacrifice their premise for wanting to be the B movie. They're the B movie, and they're also, mixing that in with the whole Spielberg Amblin kind of kids movie. There's a little bit of, there is a little bit of ET in this.
Oh yeah.
Basic plot is basically ET if he was evil.
Yeah. And they lean into both aspects of that, which they don't shy away from the fact that he is a interdimensional demon who murders planets. That is locked into this movie. They don't back away from it. He's not magically going to be like, everything's fine. That's not what this is doing. And I like that it just owns up to that.
Right. Absolutely. And saying that, I would definitely, me personally, I would pair this. Have you ever seen Turbo Kid?
No.
I think you should definitely watch it. If you like this this movie, like Turbo Kid does it also, the whole like, hey, we're gonna do a weird genre thing. Also, it's an homage to B movies, but it's not too much, trying to be specific. It's basically the apocalypse, the wasteland, but there's BMX bikes.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So, which makes a lot of sense with the apocalypse. But I personally, if I was to do a double feature, I would do Turbo Kid and Psycho Goreman. I think they pair well together. So,
the other fun thing about the movie is it's like 91 minutes. It does not overstay its welcome. It's an hour and a half. You're in and out, and it's just a good, easy watch.
It's an easy watch. It's definitely something that when it's okay to get back into, bring a whole group into your living room, definitely, get a bunch of beer and it's a B movie night, not necessarily a bad movie night, because it's a very fun, energetic movie that does exactly what it wants with the movie.
I visited my parents this weekend for the first time since last year when the world fell apart. Mm-hmm. And I brought this movie to watch with my dad, who's a Troma fan, right? So like we watched this, and I am excited to 8 months from now, when we can go back into normal, show this to other friends that I'm like, you'll have a good time. We'll have some beers. It'll be a great, fun way to kill some time. Put it on in the background while we're playing board games or something. It'll just be fun to have on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm definitely going to delve into this guy's other movies. Apparently he did a segment for ABC's of Death as well.
Okay.
So he's been doing stuff, and this is definitely the one where I think people are going to really notice him. But anyway,
I hope this is the biggest budget movie he makes. I hope he is just locked into this budget and keeps doing this, because this is great.
Well, this was picked up by Shudder. So, and currently it is on VOD. So wherever you can watch, get VOD, highly recommend it. Apparently let me look at Psycho Goreman release, DVD release. I believe it's March 16th.
That sounds right.
Yeah, March 16th, which it most likely will also be available on Shudder at that time to stream. Which if you like this movie and don't have Shudder, I don't know what to tell you. Like that's a streaming service that you probably should get if you're into that kind of into this kind of stuff. I watched and if this was a couple of months ago, I'd do an episode on that. Color Out in Space, or Color of Space.
Oh, with Nick Cage. I loved that movie.
It is very fun. It is very weird, and especially the last 20 minutes are just fucking insane.
Yep.
But this movie, I said before, as for me, very fun. The things you come for are the monsters and the weirdly casual violence and the fucked up nature of the whole thing. But yeah, sometimes the characters are written in a way that they're supposed to be horrible, and sometimes that got on my that grated on me. But not too much that I couldn't get past it, and I am not a huge fan of the last act. But in any case, I would give this like a 3 out of 5, 3.5 out of 5. I'll go with.
Yeah, I would only give it a 3.5 out of 5 because it is a bad movie, as it should be.
Well, I think
I feel bad giving it any higher score than that, because I'm like, this isn't like art. This is just a popcorn movie that I have a great time watching.
Well, I think you should be able to like say your true, like, for this kind of movie, if that's what they're going for, and if they succeed, I feel like you could, like, you probably
here's why I'm gonna bump it up. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5 because the jokes in the movie, for the most part, all work for me.
Yes.
Because it is a comedy above all other things, and
Right.
so many of these movies, they make jokes and you roll your eyes and all that stuff, and this has a couple of those, but there are many times in this movies where the jokes actually made me laugh. Like, I actually thought, this is very funny. And that doesn't happen a lot for me with B movies, because it's usually I'm too busy rolling my eyes to pick up on the joke. But this is one where I'm like, I'm not surprised, but that was a well-crafted setup and delivery of a punchline. Yes. Specifically from the dad, who, again, I really liked, and he has a couple really good jokes.
He's really funny, yeah.
And the little girl's comedic timing and
Yes.
Luke, the boy, are also, they just nail the pacing of a good comedy.
Yeah, Luke is pretty much the straight man through all of this, even though he goes along with a lot of things that maybe you shouldn't be going along with, bro.
And yeah, because I guess the comedy works so well, the score of it is right up my alley. Yeah, I would go as high as a 4 on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. I had more fun watching this than I've had in a long time.
Fantastic. Well, we're gonna put the Just Watch link at the bottom, so you can find out where to watch this. Tanner, do you have anything you want to plug real quick?
Yeah, I at the moment don't have a lot of projects in the works. I'm trying to figure out what my next project will be, but you can follow me on Twitter and on Twitch, where I do stream a lot of video games. Tantrum, TANTANTRUM. And if you need anyone to show up and nerd out on a podcast, I am about to be unemployed, so I have free time. So please, anyone, slide into my DMs and I will come and talk about nerdy things with anybody.
He has the time, people. Yeah, and I have the on this channel, there's several other podcasts, which is Tanner has been on. He's been on for Plan 9 from Outer Space and Brigsby Bear. Which definitely watch those episodes. They're very informative and fun. I also have another podcast, Fancy Werewolf Lounge, I do with my comedian friend, Liberty Bell. So check that out as well. But Tanner, thank you for being on.
Thank you for having me.
And members, go out and serve the new cult.